We got Cody Kilcoyne, the now of the PBLA Binghamton Bombers, the game-winning goal. That must have been a pretty sweet feeling. This is your first game pro, I'm guessing.
Yeah, yep. I had a little. I got taken out to the training camp for Colorado Mammoth after college, and they didn't end up picking me up. But that was as close as I came to pro. After that, I kind of focused on my family's business and life.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Seems like you made the right decision. But I mean, now to be able to pick it back up. So how long has it been since you like? What year did you graduate? You went to U Albany, right?
Yeah. So I kind of skipped around. I went to my freshman year. I went to Clarkson University. My freshman year and halfway through my sophomore. It's an engineer-based school, and I was not smart enough to be there. So the assistant coach for Clarkson took a head coaching job out in a school called Adrian out in Michigan, another good Division III school. And I transferred out there with him because he got me in. And then had a couple good seasons there, and I said, screw it, I might as well try Division I. And I'm good buddies with Ty Thompson, so I called him up and asked him if he had a room available in his house that he had, and he said, yeah, come on down. So took it from there, and I just walked on to Albany's team, probably with some help from Ty and Miles and Lyle, and being that familiar with them, and then them having that much pull at Albany. So but I meshed really well with the team, so gratefully Coach Marr kept me around.
Yeah, you actually watching you. So the first time I got to watch you play was for the Collar City Kings, but you have a very similar playing style. That hard nose, you play both ways. You don't give up on the ball when it goes on the floor. You don't call yourself just like an offensive player, although you do have
Yeah.
some offensive skills. So I'm not really surprised. But you actually grew up in up by Akwesasne, right? Up in Messina.
Yep. My wife's from Messina, but I'm from Brazier Falls. It's the next town over. Really small farm town. Pretty blue collar, hard nosed kids. Worst football team in probably the state, but we loved it. So, that kind of attitude where you just get out there and bang bodies and do what you got to do and have fun with it. But growing up, I didn't play box until I think I was like 14 or 15. We would always play Salmon River, which was where all the Akwesasne kids went to high school. That was a big rivalry for lacrosse, and they were actually recruiting one of my buddies, Jack Keenan, and my buddy's dad said, "Hey, if you want my son to come along, we're going to bring his friend Cody." And at the time, I was like maybe 100 pounds soaking wet, so I was a real small, skinny kid, and my buddy didn't end up liking it, and I ended up loving it. So I stayed, and they kept me, and I started at Junior A, which was like
Unheard of.
lightning speed. I did not know what was going on, but we had a solid Junior A team, and then they folded and turned into the Junior B Indians, and kind of stuck it out from there. And it's a crazy program that they have up there. The amount of skill that comes out of that reservation is unreal. And I give most of my credit for having the skill that I have and the hard nose ability that I have to that program. My high school lacrosse helped. Like we had a good program too, but majority of my skill came from Akwesasne.
Yeah, that's that box style. I just got to see it last year for the first time, and there's nothing like it. That's just so much faster than everything else, and yeah, you're going to pick up a ton of skill there. I mean, jumping right into Junior A though, wow, that's that must have, like you said.
It was fast. I didn't do real well because coming off a field and then going straight to Junior A. I don't know if you know like Sam Bradman and those kind of names, but he was a big name for Salisbury. But he was on the team. He was a local kid. Then obviously Ty and all those guys were on the team too, and Jake. But just to jump straight into Junior A, it was like, I don't know what's happening. Just tell me when to go out on the floor, and I'll go out on the floor. But I was really fast and shifty. So they used me a lot on penalty kills and stuff. So, at the very least, I was out there running around, letting people chase me. So,
Yeah, getting the minutes on the floor. That's really
yeah.
the only way to learn. Is
Yeah.
And then so we were talking. So it's actually funny. The family farm ended up moving basically around the corner from my house, and then you stayed. Your wife works by Albany, so you stayed down that way.
Yep. Yeah. We're in Amsterdam. But it's close to 90, so she just jumps on 90 and heads down there. If we were to be up by you guys in the farm, it'd be hour and 20 minutes for her sometimes one way, so it'd be a pretty miserable drive.
Yeah, that's huge being located there on 90, especially for playing in this league because there's so many of the teams that you just jump on 90 and kind of start going, and then 88
Yeah,
or yeah, it's
yeah,
that works
yeah.
pretty
We're
good.
lucky to be here especially for this because I mean Utica being an hour drive for me is perfect.
Yeah, yeah, that's I what did you think of that Nexus Center? That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, that's crazy. So we deliver out there too for beef, and I've kind of seen it growing. So originally, obviously, 2 years ago they just had the traditional rink, which was already really nice, and then I saw the all the construction going up. I didn't know if they were putting up a parking garage. It's kind of like what it looked like, but my God, it came together, and that thing is probably one of the nicest facilities I've seen in this area.
Oh yeah. Plus, just having all those rinks there now, they have the ability to make sure there's turf down all the time, so like, it's huge.
Yeah,
I think the Eddies are going to see. They might be losing some players here and there because of whatever, but I think with all the field time though, you're going to see a lot of growth. Now, what did you did you didn't get drafted by the Bombers, correct? You went to the Elmira thing. Is that how you got picked up, or was it just from knowing guys? They were like, hey, let's give you a try.
no. So I was kind of in between if I was going to play or not because our son's he's going on 4 months, so he's pretty fresh to be leaving him here. And I got to give my wife a huge shout out. She picks up the slack and watches him for 3 days straight when I'm gone. Because this obviously we travel quite a bit for this, so she deserves the credit there. But I was in between, talking to her about if I should do it or throw my name in, and ultimately we talked about it. I threw my name into the mix, not the original draft, but the free agency one. And Jake Lazor was on me a couple times. He was bugging me like, get your name in there, get in the league. And then originally I was going to go to Hampton, and one of the coaches that I had up in Ganawage, he was supposed to be coaching, and then they, for whatever reason, the Hampton team went and chose a different coach. And I was like, well, this is my way to get out of this, going all the way down there. So I called Neil up, and Neil did show some interest before, but I had committed. I'm kind of a guy of my word, so I committed to the other guy. And then once he was gone, I called Neil. I was like, hey, listen, shit just kind of opened up for us. So if you need another lefty, let me know. And I didn't ask him for a straight spot. I just said, just give me a shot. I'm not that kind of guy. So just take me to some of your training camps, and if you like me, keep me. If you don't, it is what it is.
Yeah, it seemed to work out pretty well. I didn't get to watch the game, so how did that work? Somebody just told me the game-winning goal was it, but it was a back-and-forth game right till the end. Did you guys have a lead when you scored, or was it like to put you ahead, or how did that?
So we were tied at the time that I scored. So I think it was like a minute left, somewhere in that range that I'd scored. But came down, I cleared the ball up. Jake tossed it up to me about midfield or mid-floor. Moved it up to Ty, who was already up ahead of me. They had a 2-on-1, and then one of their guys was coming off the bench and made it a 2-on-2, and I just kind of followed back through and made it a 3-on-2. And I don't know who the righty was for our team. It was kind of hard to see on the film, but whoever that was, I give them props because he cleared out the two guys that were coming to play defense. So he set a real nice pick after Ty tossed it to me and just kind of let me shoot around everybody and put it in the net. But yeah, that put us up, and then we kind of just all had a butt clinching moment of this last minute. They better not score. So
Yeah, that.
It was back and forth. We kind of lost it. We had a couple of stupid plays late in the game where they went on a 2 or 3 goal run to catch back up. So just first game jitters. Plus, people getting tired. It's a weird league to get used to, especially coming from playing actual, one-way box lacrosse where you're just offense or just defense. When you throw in that full floor run, it kind of throws a wrench in your system of how tired you actually are on defense. So that makes you not think as quickly. And, some of those guys cutting through got the best of us.
Yeah, because what people don't think about is, yes, I mean, so if you got 200-foot long rink, usually when you do that sprint back, you're only sprinting 100 yards about, and then you're able to go into the bench. Whereas now you kind of got to sprint back, and you either got to figure out to get on the other side of the door so the other guy can come out, or you have to, get back and play defense. So now you've sprinted an extra 100 feet, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm sure anybody listening to this, if you've ever sprinted before, you would know 100 feet could be a long time. And then, like you said, the biggest thing is the mental fatigue, because then you're there and you have to make sure you're playing smart.
Yeah. The biggest thing I've noticed was my legs are always there because of what we do for, farming, plus I'm delivering and carrying a bunch of stuff. And so my legs are always in good shape. But the biggest thing I noticed was my breathing. So, I got to get my breath back more or less. Once I sprint from offense after I was already sprinting on offense, playing offense, and then sprinting back, catching your breath is the more difficult part. Because you can still move around. It's just when you're gassed, you can't catch your breath quickly.
Yeah, then you start doing all that mouth breathing, and you're out there trying to look around. Yeah, it's
yeah.
So what did you think the biggest thing was, playing box, and then all of a sudden the first game of this? I mean, I know you guys had been experimenting with stuff in practice, so you guys kind of had an idea, but what was like the real eye opener? Like, oh wow, this is a different style.
To me, it wasn't a huge eye opener to me, at least, because I primarily was a transition guy in box anyway. So I would go out the deep door and then I would run it up, try to get fast breaks, and I could play offense too. So traditionally, that's kind of the way that I played my entire game for box, regardless. So it wasn't too bad for me, but I think for a lot of these guys coming in that were specialty players where they were just strictly offense or just strictly defense, I think the just strictly defensive guys are going to struggle more because now they have to have stick skills, which they do have stick skills, but up to what point? It's a professional league, so everybody's top notch in their stick skills and banging the ball around 1,000 miles per hour. So, those guys got to catch up a little bit. So,
like you said, though, when you're talking about shooting, I mean, you're only talking half inch if you're off by, and you're completely missing. So yeah, and like you said, the defensive guys, and then with the rebounds, you got to be able to stay out there, keep sprinting, and then hopefully figure the change out on your way back. Now, one thing you talked about there when you said Jake threw it up to you, I actually forgot. I didn't even know what it just reminded me of it, but that was like the most impressive thing I thought was watching him pass out of the net. Like when I was recording that first scrimmage, just watching the way he could move the ball, because especially watching a lot of the NABLL guys, there's a few goalies that could, but you also have a lot of goalies that can kind of get away with not having any stick skills. So to see him be able to laser, 70-foot passes, basically, I call it tape to tape, even though, it's going nylon to nylon essentially.
Yeah.
But it's, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a huge advantage, especially for us, which I knew Jake obviously from growing up. So as soon as I was committed to Binghamton, I was pretty happy to have him in net out of all the goalies in the league, really. But to have him be able to look up the floor, and he has great vision too, to be able to look up the floor and laser a pass to you, like you said, 70 yards away, nobody could run that fast. So it gives us a huge fast break advantage just in him being able to pass that well. So, but yeah, he's a great goalie.
Yeah, that's like I said, that was the thing I think that really set him apart from everybody else I was watching, because I mean at this level everybody's fairly close and competent as far as being able to stop the ball, but it's those little things. And then with the new pads, that's something that you're not taking away from him, because he's still able to do it. So it's such a huge thing. What did you think of the different size goalie pads? Any differences?
I didn't really notice too much. I guess because they shrunk the net too, right? So it essentially would be the same size as NLL.
Kind of what I thought.
So, yeah, if you're taking 2 inches off the pads and then 2 inches off the net, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
but I
couldn't figure out why they did it.
Much of a difference. But, it is what it is, and we got to be able to shoot around them anyway. So a lot of these goalies are huge regardless. So.
Yeah. Did you notice it coming off the leg pads different? I had a couple guys comment to me that they thought I don't know if it was just because they're newer, but they said the ball was really like just popping back out in front of the net. Yeah,
that might just be because they're hard still. They're not worn in, so they don't absorb much. So, but yeah, I took one shot. I think Matt Bennett got the rebound and scored off of it. And it rebounded hard. It came off I'm not that hard of a shooter.
No, that's kind of what I thought when I was talking to the one guy. I said, I wonder if it's just because the pads are new, because especially goalies, they keep, they keep gear for a while, and you get comfortable in something, you move around in it a while. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They don't like switching gear too much
no, no,
once it's broken. So rightfully so. Speaking of gear, I was excited to get all the fresh new gear because it's been about 5 years since I've had anything new.
yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, so what? I mean, you had your son's not very old, because that's essentially why you didn't make it down to nationals for the NABLL, which
Yeah,
you know happened. I don't know. I think it kind of the way it worked out. I hope next year the way they're doing it, where they have the championships a little sooner. Not that it would have changed your scenario necessarily, but hopefully it makes it so it's
yeah.
easier for the college guys. Because I think that Collar City team, I don't know. I think you guys are one of the most fun teams to watch. You guys have that fun, just playful style. Everybody's just having a good time out there, and
Yeah, yeah, and that's what like I give Justin and Maloney a ton of credit. They took over, and after the first year, it was a little rough organization wise. They took over and they did a really good job. But it's just more, we look at the Utica team and they're extremely organized and very like to the point, and we're the exact opposite where we're just a bunch of guys that get together and have a good time, which it shows in the way that we play. We're super fluid on letting people do what they want or what they think is fun. You got Maloney out there throwing behind the back, behind the ass passes and stuff like that. So, but it works. It's exciting, gets everybody hyped up. So when we're full bench, we're a hard team to go up against.
yeah, you're definitely not an easy. I mean, you're a hard out either way. But where I was kind of going with that is, so then in your first professional game, you got to play against those two. I mean, that must
Yep.
have been pretty cool, spending so much time playing with all those guys, and especially like most of the guys that play on that team don't have a ton of experience. I mean, you've got a handful of guys that do with Deej and a couple other guys, but for the most part, everybody's field players. So that must have been just like such a cool thing to get to go against a couple guys that you guys have all like brought so much box lacrosse and good competition to that Troy Albany area. It must have been pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. It was fun. It's always nice to run out and line up with somebody that's your buddy. Running out there, shooting the shit with Justin or Maloney. Going up the line, give him a little cheap shot and chuckle about it, kind of deal. That's always a fun experience. Especially, it's a pride moment too. Those are your boys. You're happy that they're there. Vice versa, they're happy that we're here too. So, and then I played with Adam Osika, who's on Elmira. He went to Albany when I was at Albany as well. So, there's a lot of familiar faces. I know more of the Syracuse guys. There's a ton of Syracuse guys from Akwesasne. Um, a lot of those guys I played with growing up too. So.
Yeah,
It's enjoyable to see the guys that deserve to get a shot are getting a shot. Skylar, Thomas, a lot of these guys that work their ass off and they're unreal skill wise. But for whatever reason, they haven't gotten a shot at professional yet. So,
yeah, and that's kind of this league has done that, but it's also kind of with the speed sense that they're going for. It kind of gives an advantage to the smaller guys, because hopefully by the fourth quarter, your bigger physical guys are usually tired out a little bit by then from running the whole game, and it kind of like Skylar's not the tallest guy, Lucas isn't the tallest guy. It really kind of helps to. I think you're going to really see those guys kind of shine in this league.
yeah, it's a league of transition players. So if you can play decent defense and then play good offense, you're going to succeed. And you obviously you have to have your legs, and that's one thing I'm grateful to have is I don't get tired that much. So it's a league where if you can figure out your pacing, in which I think Elmira might have shot themselves in the foot on some of that. I think they went a little too hard, and at times that tired them out, and kind of let us advance a little bit, get a couple goals here and there. So. It's really a league where you got to pace yourself. So the first period, second period, you're going hard, but you're not, you don't want to exhaust yourself, because then come third, fourth period, you're going to be screwed.
You can't completely kind of shoot your load there early, because then you're done. Like you said,
Yeah.
There's way too many athletes in this league. Because Now, playing in Binghamton, that must have been pretty cool because they had what 1,500 people there, about I heard.
Yeah, yeah. The start of the game, obviously, it's the first game that we've had. So, looking in the crowd, there was one person. I was like, oh, here we go. There's another league where we're gonna have two, like mom and dad are in the stands yelling, but nobody else. But once the lights came down and then we went out there, I was like, holy shit, there's a good amount of people, and that's a big arena. I think it holds like 5,000, somewhere in that range. So, from what I understand, they didn't promote it a crazy amount. So I'm hoping that the word starts spreading, because I saw some pictures. I don't know what the Instagram handle was, but whoever takes professional pictures for the Binghamton hockey team, that arena was, it's the same arena, their hockey team, but that was full. Like, so they must have had close to 5,000 for their games. And it's a similar sport, so I'm assuming they'll like box lacrosse too. So,
Oh yeah, no, I
hoping.
think just a matter of time. Word of mouth's going to spread. This is
Yeah.
yeah, it's so much fun. Plus, like one thing that you guys have is like just the guys that I know that are playing on that team, between you and Ty, and then some of the guys I got to watch out there offensively, is you guys have a lot of hard nosed players. Like none of the guys on your
Yeah.
team that I know are just offensive guys. Like you don't
Yeah.
have any of those prima donnas that just go out there and I'm only up here to score and then I'll get back off the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got one. Durston's a little bit of a offensive only,
I was just gonna say,
but I mean, rightfully so. He's very good. So, we have, I think, one or two offensive guys and then one or two defensive guys that we pull every time. But it doesn't really make a difference because everybody else can run. So everybody puts in their time, puts in their miles. So nobody really minds, especially when Durston and them are scoring.
yeah, let's see the great equalizer. Everybody forgets what you didn't do if you get a hat trick.
Practicing with him, he's one of those guys. Once he gets comfortable, he's going to fit into that offense really well.
Now you guys have a bye week this week, kind of get yourself healed up a little bit, and then who do you guys have next week?
Is it Syracuse? I think at home.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You guys are playing Syracuse in Syracuse, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
yep.
That's their first.
That should be a good game. No, I think it's a home game for us. I think.
Really? So Syracuse doesn't get a home game in their first three? I'll have to look.
I don't think so.
Because I know they're going to Elmira this week, and they're.
Syracuse is going to be a good lacrosse town. I think they might take that on a lot, especially with Syracuse University being there. So there's already a huge lacrosse base. So, we'll see.
But I mean, with the team that you have too, though, you've got Ron and such a group of guys that have played around that area. So it's not like you've just got a bunch of imports coming in. I think that Syracuse, kind of like Binghamton, you guys have quite a few guys that are within driving distance at least of pretty much everybody of that team. Now
I don't think we have a lot of guys from flying in or anything like that.
That was what I was going to say. Is I know some of these teams are flying guys all over the place. Having talked to Neil, he basically said no. He's like, there was enough talent here. He goes, I'm not saying that we wouldn't pick somebody up, and there was no reason for it. He said, but we were able to find plenty of talent close enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, just the word of mouth from the community being so small. Like Jake and Ty and them, like reaching out to me, and Ryan Hodling, and there's enough guys around that everybody knows that you can put a good team together pretty quick.
Yeah.
And, for Syracuse, like Garrett Cree was one of my coaches in juniors. So obviously there's a ton of Akwesasne guys on their team too. So.
Yeah, it's there's an insane amount. I wish I could find out how many Akwesasne players are actually in the league, because I bet you that's got to be most of them. I mean, like as far as one population center, that's got to be the richest, I guess, with talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I tried to take advantage of it when I was there. And after playing for them, I told my wife after playing on the reservation, I would play for a subpar native team over a very good white team any day. Just the way they treat the game and the way they treat and how they play the game is it's so much more enjoyable than just going out and being good.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I always call it the passion, but I know that's not the right exact term for it because it's more of a spiritual thing. But they, the way they play, like you're really playing for pride every shift
Yeah.
on the floor.
Yeah. You got to get up to the Turtle Dome, man. It's for one of those playoff games where it's like Six Nations versus Akwesasne. It's a tight arena, so it's not a huge one, but it gets packed every playoff game. The pride they have in that juniors program is unreal. It's exciting. It's fun to go. It's definitely worth a trip up there.
Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna have to make it up there. Now, what did you like? What was basically like you said, yours and your wife kind of talked about it and about playing for the league, but like, what was the I guess the biggest factor for like definitely yes, we can make this work. It's gonna fit my schedule.
I mean, I'm pretty fortunate with our farm. If I lived on the farm, obviously, I don't think I'd be able to do this. But my sister and brother-in-law live on the farm, so they handle majority of the farm work. I'll go up and help if I need, but I handle most of the distribution and sales. So I was fortunate that way, and obviously being paid definitely helps the decision. When it's like playing for Collar City, some of the times you're just looking at it and going, it's a 3-hour drive. You got to spend 2 or 3 hours at the game and then a 3-hour drive back. And you're just sitting there and shaking your head like, do I really want to do this right now?
Yeah.
Especially with a 3-month-old. So.
Yeah, that's got to be crazy.
Because it's all on her shoulders at that point. Like, obviously, I'm tied up and she's got to handle him whether he's grumpy or she slept or not. So.
Yeah, your wife must be a saint. That was actually, so the first time I got to meet you, your wife had traveled down to Newburgh. This was before you guys had the baby. So she follows you all over the place playing anyways. Well, used to.
Yeah, she definitely likes watching. She's doesn't like when I get in fights and stuff, but
which was
I got in a fight and in between games I was like, I'm way too tired, I'm not fighting, and she was like, good, you're not allowed to. And like 3 shifts later I got in a fight.
Yeah, that was the first time I got to meet her, and that was how it was pretty easy to tell she was your wife once you were the one fighting out there, just by the way she was kind of reacting. I was like, oh, that must be his significant other.
Yeah.
That was funny.
But she came from a huge hockey town, so she's not unused to fights and stuff in hockey. So
did I ever tell you about that kid when I talked to him afterwards? Yeah, so they all ended up there. That's why I think the real tell is going to be how Syracuse does against Elmira this week and how Jim Thorpe does, because that'll kind of give us a gauge for because you guys played them and then those two teams played, so it'll kind of give us a little bit of an understanding.
I think Hampton will be okay. I don't think they'll be crazy. I think the majority of the skill is going to be in the New York area. R3, obviously because you're close enough to draw all these guys from the reservations. So, the Jim Thorpe might be good, but I don't see the Virginia and North Carolina and them being like crazy skilled because it's such a commitment for. Yeah.
So you guys are getting ready to take on Syracuse. Unfortunately, my phone's blowing up. I got to take this, but thanks. It was fun, and I'll cut it around so we can get it all good here.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. Thanks a lot, Cody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.